Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan and today I'm going to be going over the books I read in August. So I personally had a fantastic August reading month. I finished 22 books with several 5 or above 4-star books, and I also was able to start 2 other books. So without further ado, let's just jump on into it. So first I read Stamped, which is not a history book. It's the history we should have been taught about Black history, racism, segregation, all of that stuff that we never got taught when we were in school, and I found it very interesting and I highly recommend it. Next was Between the World and Me. And this was told in the format of a father talking to his son about racism and owning his own body. First, I read Nevernight and God's Grave. I reread these in an audiobook format to refresh my memory going into September to read Dark Dawn finally. I reread The Sea of Monsters so I could refresh for The Titan's Curse. And finally, I reread Sky in the Deep so I could refresh for The Girl the Sea Gave Back. Next are the manga books I read. I completed the Orange manga series by reading book 2. Wow, I cannot hold these straight. By completing book 2 and Orange Future. I loved both of these. I gave Orange 2 a 5-star and then Orange Future a 4-star. Orange Future was a lot of fun and I really liked Suwa's perspective. However, I do feel like it strayed a little bit from what his character was in the original 2 books. Next, I completed the Hour in High School Host Club series by reading volumes 17 and 18, and I definitely did not start off loving and enjoying this manga series, but by the end I was so invested. I love these characters. I was cracking up, like fully laughing out loud at some of the scenes, and I did not ever expect to do that from a manga, so this was a 4-star and this was a 5-star. Next, I'm gonna kind of go in order of my star ratings. The first book was Black City by Elizabeth Richards. I gave this a 3.5 stars. It's a dystopian novel, kind of Romeo and Juliet-esque, in which the daughter of the hierarchy and a half-blood who is half human, half vampire fall in love, and it's very dystopian. I'm not a huge vampire person, but I was a little bit intrigued by the plot. I'm going to read the rest of the series from my library, but it's definitely not a series I intend to keep, so I'll probably unhaul this. It was still pretty enjoyable though. Next, I gave The Titan's Curse 4 stars. This is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, and it's been pretty fun so far. It takes so many twists and turns, and it's so fun to delve back into mythology because I loved mythology when I was younger, so it's really interesting to see how Rick ties it in to this world. Next, I read The Right Swipe by Alicia. So this tells the story of Rhiannon, who is the app maker slash CEO of the app called Crush, and this is a feminist Tinder, and she is on the scout to kind of take over essentially the .com version of a matchmaking system called Matchmaker. However, the person that she got ghosted by is now the face of Matchmaker, and it was so good. I gave it 4 stars. It was so enjoyable, and I'm really glad that I'm kind of getting into this romance rom-com genre. Next, I finished this chunker called Priory of the Orange Tree. I gave this 4.5 stars. It was so good. I definitely was intimidated by it, but was shockingly surprised by how easy it was for me to get into, regardless of how intimidating it was. The story picked up right away. I was invested right away, and I read all the way through. The reason I gave it 4.5 instead of 5 stars is the ending did feel a teeny bit rushed. I wish there had been a sequel or a little bit more at the end to kind of tie up the end a little bit better, but it was still a fantastic novel. This tells the story I don't even know how to describe this story. There's so many characters you're following, but it is LGBTQ. It is a queendom. There's dragon riders. There's fighting. There's magic. There's war. There's dragons. It's so good. Next, I completed the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. I read Daughter of Smoke and Bone in July, and then in August I read Days of Blood and Starlight, Dreams of Gods and Monsters, and Night of Cake and Puppets. I gave Days of Blood and Starlight and Dreams of Gods and Monsters 5 stars, and this one I want to give it 5 stars just because Mick and Susanna are like the best relationship ever. I just wish it had been longer. It feels a little bit weird to rate such a short story. So I'm still giving it 5 stars, but it does feel a little weird because it felt like not much at all, but it was still fantastic and I love this series. In short, is the story of an angel and a devil falling in love. Next, I finished the Scythe series by reading The Toll, and you guys all lied. The Scythe series does not get worse as it goes on. It's like stays the same. It's so good all the way through. Scythe is my favorite series now, and I need merch for it. I need everything for it. It's so good. Please make a TV series or a movie series or something based on these novels. I want to see this world come to life. I love this. If you aren't aware, Scythe tells the story of a world in which death has been eradicated, and there are these Scythes who are tasked with the responsibility of keeping the population under control, and we follow 2 apprentice Scythes in the first novel, in which they're rising through the ranks, and essentially whoever wins has to kill the other. So super intense, so good, so high stakes, so I just love this series. Next, I picked up Children of Virtue and Vengeance, which is the sequel to Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I personally thought that this novel was better than the first one. I loved the sequel. The romance to me was so much better. The stakes were so much higher. It just felt more real, and I really enjoyed this one and cannot wait for the 3rd book. This is a sequel, but Children of Blood and Bone is the story of Zelly, who is a magi whose magic has been taken, and one day she runs into the princess who has stolen the scroll that can bring magic back, and so now they are on the quest to bring magic back to her people. And if you couldn't tell, both of those were 5 stars. Next, I finally began the Selection series, and you guys were not kidding when you told me I would love this. This was so impeccably good. It's definitely my new favorite, like, guilty pleasure book. It's definitely 100% Bachelor meets Hunger Games. I totally get it. I love this. I read this in less than a day, just a couple hours. I flew through this, and I need to pick up the next book immediately. Last of the books I completed was A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy. This was my favorite book of August. It's very Three Dark Crowns, Children of Blood and Bone, Girls of Paper and Fire, those kind of vibes. It's essentially the story of 2 sisters who have to fight to the death for the crown, and I mean, it sounds amazing, right? I find it so hard to talk about books that I like and why I like them, but this was just incredible. I love Three Dark Crowns, but this is even more what I wanted Three Dark Crowns to be, and I need the next novel now. Also, like, look at this artwork that it came with. Last but not least are the 2 books that I started but did not complete in August. I did start Cersei by Madeline Miller, which is the story of Cersei from mythology. It is so good. I don't know how I haven't finished it yet. I just have been in a super duper reading slump, so I'm hoping to pick this up next week and finish it. And then also, I think this is the book that has put me in the reading slump. I've read this before. It wasn't my favorite, but I wanted to refresh it so I could give Vengeful a try, but it's still like putting me in a reading slump. It is better than the last time I read it, but it's still not quite enrapturing me in the way that all these other ones are. So there's that. I have about 100 pages left of this one, and then I'm halfway through this one, so hopefully I can finish these in September. So that is all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you read in August and what your favorite book was, and I will check in with you in my next one. Bye, friends!